Hello and welcome to the Hot Dog and Handshake Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Jayden and Jolka. Joining me today is Jolka. Jolka, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Nope, not too bad.
How are you doing, Shane?
He's not here, actually. He's on a plane to Chicago right now.
Oh,
so
right.
Shane is up in the air as we record this. I do have some notes from him for the week, so we do have some correspondence from Shane.
Is it all in Japanese?
No, it's English, thankfully. That would be hard for me if it was in Japanese. So the call and elbow question this week. I want to know, who are your way too early predictions for the 2026 Money in the Bank winners?
Oh, wow. All right,
A whole year
2026. I think next year, Penta.
Penta? That's a good one.
I think-
I was thinking Carmelo Hayes for the men.
Oh, that'd be a really good
Yeah.
one, too, Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, I just think, he would be one that would have like a cool custom briefcase too, and like would really, I think, play into the Money in the Bank really well. Shane had Miles Bourne from NXT, the guy that's the Randy Orton Jr. or whatever.
Yeah, it looks just
Elio
like
del
him.
Randy Orton.
Yeah.
um,
Isn't that his son?
it's no relation as far as I know. Like
Oh.
just looks like him for some reason.
As I've seen reels or people talking about how his son is in NXT and it looks just like him and he's doing his body slam.
I don't think so. I know his son was like training, but I'm pretty sure Miles Bourne's just his own dude. Because also, like, when his son does debut, he'll be in Orton. They won't like change that. It's like yeah, no relation.
Okay.
So, because like it's been, there was the original Bob Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton, and then Randy Orton, right? So of course, when there's a fourth one, it'll still be Orton.
Who would have known the internet would lie?
Yeah, all the time. And then for the women, that's a lot tougher. I think there are a couple good cases from this year's match. Like you could say Roxanne will win next year. Julia, Stephanie. Shane said Mariah May. He thinks she'll already be there. I mean, she just recently debuted in NXT. She certainly has the ability to go to the main roster very quickly. Will WWE actually do that is a better question. But I think that's a good pick. Who do you think from the women's side?
I think Ivy Nile would be a good pick.
One. Chelsea Green would be a great one.
Chelsea Green would
She'd
be a great
hilarious
one.
Money in the Bank winner. Yeah, that'd be really. There's a lot of great young talent. What are your thoughts on like Money in the Bank? We could get into this more later, but I'll just bring it up now. Like Money in the Bank, should it go to established guys to get another world title? Younger guys to get their first world title? Where do you kind of sit on that? Because that's been a big debate this week.
I think it's forever. It's not the individual. It's wherever the company needs the push.
Yeah.
Like I personally believe like Seth Rollins won this so he can get the push to lose his cash in.
Yep.
And
I mean,
because Sami Zayn and CM Punk were very absent in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll get to that part later.
Yeah. Seth also, a fun thing with this Punk rivalry, he now is the second man to win 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. Punk is the other one.
Right.
Punk won at WrestleMania, I think it was 24 and 25.
Yeah.
He won. Notably, Edge has held the briefcase twice, but he won the ladder match once and then beat Mr. Kennedy for it the second time.
Right.
And then same thing with The Miz. The Miz won the briefcase once, and then he beat Otis for the briefcase the second time.
Right.
So, but the only 2 people that actually win the ladder match twice now are Punk and Seth Rollins. So yeah, we'll get into that. Let's see. On to outside the ring news. Just one bit of AEW news. Alex Windsor is All Elite. She is a indie wrestler from England, but very importantly, she's also married to Will Ospreay. So
That's
seems like a pretty. She probably had a pretty easy interview.
yeah.
Getting into the company, you know what I mean?
Sounds like that was
Yeah.
just a formality.
Yeah. So she's now All Elite. We'll see how she's used on TV. I know she's at least made Ring of Honor appearances before, so she's already kind of been around, but now she's officially signed to the company. In WWE news, Bret Hart condemns Vince McMahon over misconduct allegations. He became a predator who used wrestling as a backdrop for evil, is the quote. That's how you fucking do it, guys. Nobody, fucking Bret Hart, the only guy with the balls to actually come out and say, hey, that guy's a piece of shit.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like everybody else, John Cena tiptoed around it. Triple H has done nothing but ignore it. Like that's
Right.
all he does. Like all these guys, Steve Austin hasn't said anything. All these like big figures. Undertaker, of course, the
Yeah,
biggest Vince guy of all time. He's not saying
absolutely.
anything. So, but yeah, that's how you do it. That's why we love Bret Hart around here because he'll actually fucking say shit like that.
He's like that internet troll of pro wrestling.
Oh yeah,
Like
I mean all the Goldberg stuff is just hilarious.
You can't go into one interview where he doesn't mention Goldberg.
Well, it's kind of become a bit almost. It's like his like recurring joke. Yeah. And then in other WWE news, Zoe Stark undergoes surgery for ACL, MCL, and meniscus injuries. So
Ooh.
on that failed springboard drop kick in her Money in the Bank qualifier a couple weeks ago, where her knee gave out on her, injured her ACL, her MCL, and her meniscus, 3 major parts of the knee. Certainly she's out for a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
At least a year.
That is a long-term injury. I don't know the extent to each of those, but when you have all 3 together, that's going to be a long road to recovery, no matter how bad they are.
Absolutely.
So, I think it's very similar to like what Eddie Kingston had. He's been out for a year over in AEW, so stuff like that. No other news. I just got a couple of quick hits here. I just want your quick reaction on these. Brian Cage of AEW undergoes knee replacement surgery, returns to gym 4 days later.
That doesn't surprise me, actually.
Yeah, he's actually a machine.
My grandfather got both of his knees replaced, and he was back chopping wood within 2 days. He was walking the same day.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, that's just not...
It's not that bad of a surgery
anymore. We've got knee replacement down, like, to pretty quick. Okay.
That you don't even stay in the hospital the same night anymore.
Really?
Yep.
And then my other one here is Fred Durst wants to make theme for Braun Breaker after false rumor spreads.
I would love to hear that. I loved Limp Bizkit growing up. I loved the Undertaker when he did the Rollin'.
Yeah, I like Rollin'. I'm not a huge fan of Limp Bizkit other than that, but can't be worse than Def Rebel. Can't be worse than what we have right now.
No, absolutely not.
For these guys. On AEW TV, just a couple things I want to hit, and then we'll do more of a deep dive into Money in the Bank and Raw. Mark Briscoe versus John Moxley I thought was a great match. And it just, for me, like, Briscoe now passing out twice to John Moxley's Bulldog choke. It's just set up perfectly. Someday he will beat John Moxley. It'll be a huge moment. Someday Mark Briscoe will be AEW Men's World Champion. It'll be a huge moment. It's right there.
Yeah.
Those may not necessarily be the same time. I don't think Briscoe will be the guy to beat Mox
right
now, but eventually he will accomplish both of those things, potentially separately. And then the 4-way, Kenny Omega versus Brody King versus Claudio Castagnoli versus Mascara Dorada. Incredible 4-way. As I predicted, Claudio and Mascara Dorada had some great spots in there. 4 great wrestlers, really fun time. And then, of course, immediately after, Okada makes his entrance, setting up Kenny Omega, Kazuchika and Okada for All In. For those of you who don't know, Kenny versus Okada, probably one of the historic rivalries of wrestling. One of the biggest, outside of WWE, probably the most mainstream rivalry in wrestling since the WCW days.
Right.
It was such a huge deal, such a big deal to even getting us to the point where we have an AEW. Setting a lot of the groundwork for that. So of course this is their 5th meeting. Will be at All In. They've wrestled 4 times before, one-on-one. And then the Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, and Hechi Sero versus the Outrunners, who wrestled as Los Outrunners because they were teaming with Bandito and Luchador.
Nice.
And they just had on plain pink Luchador masks, which was really funny. That was a really fun match. That's just what I liked from AEW this week. But we'll get into Money in the Bank. So, of course, there was also the Worlds Collide show before this, earlier in the day.
Right.
I watched 3 matches off of that. I got to the 2 6-mans and the world title match at the main event. I thought a lot of fun. The people love Mr. Iguana.
I know that's
He's just it's the new comedy flavor of the month. Like it'll be
yeah.
a fun meme for a couple months. It'll die out, and then in 6 months, TNA will put the world title on him after the joke's already dead.
The power of the internet.
Yep. So I liked that. I liked his team with Aerostar and Octagon Jr. just from like a visual perspective.
Right.
Just like it was like a green guy, a blue guy, and a red guy. I just liked that quite a bit, and they had a great match. That was against Dragon Lee, Cruz del Toro, and Lince Dorado.
Yes.
And then I really liked the Legado del Fantasma versus I'm completely blanking on who they wrestled. It was Pagano, Psycho Clown, and El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. That was a great match. El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. Lived up to the hype. I've only really seen highlights of his before. This was the first like full match I got to see of his.
Yeah.
He's great. I think he's going to be he could be a big star for WWE if used correctly. And then almost certainly a big star will be Vikingo.
Yeah.
Like he is every match of his, he does something where I could just be like, I've never seen that move before.
Right.
And I've seen thousands of people wrestle, tens of thousands of wrestling matches, like all and it's just every time it's like this time he did like a middle rope outside the ring to the inside of the ring springboard Phoenix splash.
Oh wow.
just so many levels, like moves that we don't have names for. He does. I saw him wrestle in Kansas City against Kenny Omega on an AEW Dynamite a few years ago. The best match I've seen in person by far.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. And then of course Gable is awesome. The super pile driver, insane. Yeah. Probably my spot of the weekend. And there was some great stuff in the Money in the Bank matches and everything, but that was just awesome to see, especially on a WWE show.
Right.
Because like the pile driver was banned for so long. But yeah, anything on Worlds Collide from your perspective?
I like the atmosphere that it gave off. Mm-hmm. It was a nice, I don't want to say big, but a nice, almost homely show where you feel more comfortable because it's in a smaller venue.
Yeah, it felt more intimate. Felt more kind of
intimate. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
And I like how they had the ropes, the colors of the Mexican flag.
Yeah, I thought that was fun too.
Really I
really like the stage design with like kind of like the pyramid of video boards.
Yes,
kind of looking like the Aztec pyramids. Like that, I thought that was really cool. Shane thought it was a fantastic show. If you were watching the Spanish commentary, because he did not like. I also did not like Conan's commentary. Corey Graves is great. Love Corey Graves. Conan was sucked. I think I listened to 10 minutes of the English one, and then I switched to the Spanish one and just watched the rest with Spanish commentary because I couldn't stand it.
I really wish they would give the option for no commentary.
Yeah.
I would love to watch.
What was it that I saw recently? Oh, AEW started like doing this series where they release matches on YouTube without the commentary track. And you could just watch it with no commentary, which is kind of cool.
That seems a little more interesting to me because then it's more of an actual match.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane thought Jeremy Borash did a great job running it. He said it's easily the best show of 2025 for WWE and AAA. He thought it was way better than Money in the Bank. He says, just go watch Worlds Collide over Money in the Bank, and I am not kidding. That was his quote. I thought it was better than Money in the Bank. The half I watched, I didn't watch the whole show. I thought it was much better. I do think Jeremy Borash, apparently. So Jeremy Borash, if you don't know, used to work for TNA for a long time. He worked backstage and was also the on-screen interviewer. And then now works for WWE backstage as a producer. And they kind of just said, here's Worlds Collide. This is your show. Do what you want with it. He's also been running AAA TV since they bought the company. People have been saying it's great compared to what AAA has been recently.
Excellent.
And from what I understand, that's true, because what little AAA I've seen recently was very bad.
Right.
So, overall, I think just a great reaction to that show. And then we can get to Money in the Bank, which kicked off with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Stephanie Vecker, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, Alexa Bliss. What'd you think of this one?
I thought that was a really good match.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the women's Money in the Bank ladder match.
I didn't love it. Well, for one, Roxanne and Julia just felt off their game. You know what I mean? It just felt a little, I don't know. It just felt like they weren't at their normal level.
Right.
So they had a little bit of clunkiness, a little bit of mistimed spots that felt weird, and ultimately just wasn't what I come to expect for Money in the Bank ladder matches.
Right.
Part of that for both of them, though, is probably just experience. You know, I mean, I'm not a wrestler, but I could imagine ladder matches, especially with like 5 other people, is just a whole nother ball game if you're not used to something like that.
Yeah, because you're pairing off a lot, and you're doing a lot of one-on-ones, and it can get very confusing in there. But I like how they built the match. I love how they tried to bury Rhea Ripley in the ladders.
That was fun. That was another one where it was like it kind of didn't work though. Like the ladders just there was a lot of this could have been cool, but the ladders not cooperating spots also. So like there was that. There was the one where they tried to smash like in one ladder. They tried to smash one half on, like close it on Rhea, but like Roxanne couldn't get the thing to go down. There was the point where they push, so they have Rhea down, laying on a ladder. Maybe there was a ladder laying on top of her. Either way, and they try to push another ladder down on top of her, and they sell it's this big move, but that ladder just hits the top rope and bounces off. Like it doesn't even get close to hitting her.
And commentary even sold it. And they dropped that on Rhea.
Like, obviously they did not. Like that could not have been farther from Rhea. Really. So I don't know. Shane said that he just thought it never got going, but then when it started getting good, the match kind of abruptly ended.
Right.
So I could see that. I gave it 2.25 out of 5, so just kind of below average. Just wasn't quite what I want, and I didn't want to put it too low because a lot of it was just equipment issues with the ladders.
Right.
And I don't want to blame the wrestlers for, just the ladders not working, which happens sometimes.
It definitely wasn't the best women's Money in the Bank match I've seen.
What'd you think of Naomi as the winner? Do you think that was a good choice?
It's either going to be really good or it's going to tank.
Yeah.
There's no room for middle ground on this one with putting it on her.
Yeah. I kind of feel that's how it would have been no matter who won, except for maybe Rhea. It would be good regardless, just because she's so fucking over that just like anything she does, she could come out in a clown costume on Raw and it'd just be super. Like it wouldn't matter.
I would have loved to seen Roxanne Perez win it.
That would have been a fun one. I think I predicted her just as kind of like a dark horse at like nobody expects her to get that kind of push yet.
Right.
And then also like I thought it would have been a fun bit of tension between her and Liv if Roxanne has this like title shot whenever and Liv wants to be world champion again.
Right. Now they have that aspect with the Women's King of the Ring.
Yeah, the Queen of the Ring tournament. So they did find another way to do that, and I think Seth was always the obvious choice for the men. So the women's one was gonna have to go to SmackDown. So it was Naomi, Alexa, or Julia. I think Alexa, while it would have been interesting, was the least interesting option of the 6 we had here.
I would have loved to seen Alexa's briefcase, though.
Yeah, and then Julia, like Roxanne, I don't think we're expecting that kind of push quite yet. She's brand new.
It was good for her to be in the match. It wouldn't have made sense for her to win it.
So I think you kind of just get left with Naomi, and that's not necessarily a terrible choice. That could end up being very good.
Depends on who she cashes in on.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be, and we'll see how that goes. Then we got a match that was set up at Worlds Collide between Dominic Mysterio and Octagon Jr. So Octagon Jr., not the actual son of the legendary Luchador Octagon, but the heir to the name. Just kind of got the lineage of the Octagon character. So the original Octagon, one of the all-time Lucha legends, could be credibly on anyone's top 10 or Mount Rushmore of luchadors. Just one of the legends, right? Shane thought it was really cool just to see him appear on WWE pay-per-view. It's just an insane world we're living in. But he thought the match should have been on Worlds Collide. And he kind of thought the same thing from the women's Money in the Bank, where it kind of got slow to get going, and then by the time it got going, it was time to wrap it up.
Right.
Which I think is kind of a fair criticism of a lot of WWE matches. They just don't give the time to let matches develop the way that like AEW and New Japan do.
Right.
Like, and even sometimes TNA is better at this too. Just like giving, especially on pay-per-view, you just got to give these matches time to really put something together to be great.
Yes.
And I think WWE has been, they've been cutting down on match times on pay-per-views to give more time for sponsorships and for video packages and commercials. And
It's gotten so commercialized.
yeah. Okay, I mean, I guess while we're on the topic, what do you think of the Slim Jim table and the Fireball ladder?
I would have accepted a Slim Jim ladder because Slim Jim has been with WWE since the 90s.
Yeah.
That's something
They were big in WCW. They had the big WCW thing, and then
just all pro wrestling.
They have this wrestling background. Yeah. I would have been okay with it if it was like a Home Depot sponsored ladder. Like if it was a sponsorship that makes sense for a ladder, it would have been kind of funny, right? Something like that.
Yeah, but
funny, but
just having the sponsor have their name on your ladder is ridiculous. And that's not even the dumbest part. The briefcases said Cash App on them.
See, but that is kind of fun, like the Home Depot ladder would have been, because it's the Money in the Bank. It's got a Cash App sponsorship. Look, I hate the how much sponsorship that they're doing, but if we're gonna do it, at least have fun with it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're starting to be like having that one NASCAR that just has too many stickers overlapping at this point.
That is true.
Like, I pay for unlimited Netflix, and it still gives me 3-minute commercials that WWE sticks in there.
Mm-hmm. Back to the actual match, though. What did you think of Dominic versus Octagon Jr.?
I mean, I think it was great to have Octagon Jr. in there just to give him that spotlight with the WWE. I think the match could have been a little bit longer.
Yep, I think that's kind of the same complaint Shane and I have. But I did still think, I think this was the second best match of the night. I had a lot of fun with it. Dominic,
it was good for what it was.
You can always tell when he gets in there with luchadors, like Dominic really has studied lucha libre. He really does care about that form of professional wrestling.
Every one of his outfits is modeled off of a luchador.
Yeah, and like as much as he in character hates his dad and that legacy, he, as his own person, really is carrying on that lucha legacy. And
he did say something nice about him the other day.
What did he say?
I saw a reel that he said that his dad has nice hair.
That's a good bit. That's a good bit. So I really like this match. I give it 3 1/4. Of course, Dominic Mysterio still your Intercontinental Champion. We went back to back IC title matches here to the Women's Intercontinental Championship, where Becky Lynch defeats Lyra Valkyria. Lyra had to hold Becky's hand up to the crowd and then just beat the brakes off of her.
Yes. Poorly placed, I believe, though. I believe the men's Money in the Bank match should have been first and then had the IC title before the main event.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how much of a huge difference it would have made. Shane really liked it. He said it would have been his match of the whole WWE weekend, but Worlds Collide was very good. So
right,
his match of Money in the Bank for sure. I thought it was okay. I mean, I shouldn't say okay. It was good, right? I want more from this story. I want this story to get into, because we got this good intensity from the promos recently,
right?
Especially with Becky bringing Lyra's fiance into it,
yeah,
and stuff like that. And I didn't feel like the intensity translated to the match. I felt like the intensity ramped up in the build, but then if you compare match to match, it was pretty much the same match they had last time,
right?
And I just didn't. I want more. You know what I mean? I want to see it ramp up as the rivalry goes on. But it was still good. I gave it a 3. Nothing to hate on. Then we did, as you said, get into the men's Money in the Bank. This was, of course, Seth Rollins, El Grande Americano, Solo Sikoa, Penta Andrade, and LA Knight. Pretty solid lineup, but at the end of the day, you look at it and you're like, oh, yeah, Seth Rollins is going to win this. And it just...
And I know you said Shane's on his way to Chicago right now,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure he just got injured in this ladder match.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure he is El Grande Americano.
You think Shane is El Grande Americano?
I believe that is what's going on here.
Pretty sure it's Chad Gable.
I don't know.
It seems like it's Chad Gable. This was, for me, way better than the women's. This was my match of Money in the Bank. The best match of the night there.
This was my Mount Everest of Money in the Banks, I believe. I think this
Really?
is the best one that they've had.
Yeah.
How they laddered from the floor up to the corner, up to the top of the ladder. Just the way they structured everything was brilliant.
There was a lot of good ladder work in this one. There was a spot with LA Knight. It looked very dangerous, the way this ladder was leaning on another one, and he climbs up it to get up there and then does a back suplex off of it. I was like, that could have gone terribly for LA Knight.
It had me wondering at some points, I'm like, what is that ladder on that angle for? What are they doing right now?
There was a lot of good stuff with that. Yeah, I think Seth was definitely the right winner here. LA Knight, though, he's been in the last 3 Money in the Bank ladder matches and has lost all of them. So LA Knight fan club is, not happy with this.
I'm surprised they didn't put it on LA Knight just so they could have the Slim Jim Money in the Bank case.
Yeah. I don't know where this ranks for me. All-time Money in the Bank matches. I think I'd have to rewatch a lot of those to remember how I felt about a lot of it. Because I watch so much wrestling. It's hard to remember the Money in the Bank. I know. As a kid, I rewatched the 2 ones that Punk won all the time. I know I really love both of those. And then I'm trying to remember which else. What other ones that I really liked? The one that Seth won the first time, I remember really liking.
I really liked the one. I loved the one Brock Lesnar won, but I hate the ending of the match. It was such a great match until Lesnar
that was
came
another
out.
one. Yeah, that Mustafa Ali should have just won that.
That would have been
great.
such a kickoff.
And then, of course, the one during COVID where they go through the building. A lot of fun.
Yeah, the one
that was a completely different match, but it's a lot of fun.
Where Baron Corbin throws Rey Mysterio off the top.
Yeah, he tries to kill Rey Mysterio. I get 3.5 for the men's Money in the Bank. That was pretty great. We'll get into now the main event of the evening: Cody Rhodes and, at the time, World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso versus Logan Paul and WWE Champion John Cena. This was just kind of mid.
It was mid until it wasn't. That's
so. Yeah. Here, let me see what Shane had to say, because I'm sure his only note is the best part of the main was Ron Killings returning. That's his only note.
That I agree with that.
I hate Logan Paul. Credit where credit is due. In his entrance, catching the drone as smoothly as he did, props for that. I've tried to catch a drone before. It's terrifying. It is a hard thing to do.
I hate how good Logan Paul is at everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because he's such a trash human being.
He is. He kind of he fucked up the buckshot this time, and you could tell by the way it was set up, he was always going to get super kicked.
Yeah.
So I think he went about it a little bit differently.
He put too much gas on it.
Yeah, because he knew he was, instead of going into the clothesline, he had to go into a cell, right? And so, or to a bump or whatever the right terminology is. You know what I mean? He had to go in to take the kick. So he does fuck that one up. But yeah, he's an unfortunately great athlete, but that's kind of worn off for me.
Yeah,
because that only gets you so far, and then it's like, okay, well, let's do something. Let's do something interesting, and he just kind of does the same thing over and over again.
I did like the spot where John Cena looked at him and he's like, "I will kill you."
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Because comparatively, and I think the big comparison for a reason is Bad Bunny, right?
Right.
And he doesn't oversaturate himself. He's not on TV all the time like Logan is. He really has just made, sporadic appearances.
See, I'm someone who has always been firmly against having celebrities come in and wrestle. But Bad Bunny in my opinion, he really put in the work to
Mm-hmm.
be able to deserve doing it. He's someone who genuinely loved wrestling.
Yeah.
He wasn't there to promote his stuff. He was there because he wanted to be a part of that. And
Yeah.
he did really good.
He did. And
his work with Damian Priest.
I would say his Priest thing, that Backlash match in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
nothing that Logan Paul has ever done even gets 1% of how cool that was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that was insane. Like, you could really tell he cared. And
Yes.
that's kind of the difference.
Like, when they had people like Drew Carey, like, oh, that would always just grind my gears.
Yeah.
Like, that could have been anybody else and been interesting.
Mm-hmm. So overall, this match, though, not very good. There was a point where Cena and Jay were in the ring, and the crowd was chanting, "You can't wrestle." I have no idea who they were chanting at. It could have been either one of them.
It really could have at that point.
Like, it just, yeah, I didn't like this. Cody and Jey Uso win. I think that's the right choice because, for one, like I said last week, Logan Paul had to be the guy to take the pin here. There was
Right.
no other option. And then for two, like, Cody and Jay, like, they were tag team champions. Like, they have an established chemistry, and that's John Cena and Logan Paul have spent most of the last 10 years being an actor and a YouTuber. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, they couldn't be, like, almost more different.
Exactly.
You know? So, overall, Money in the Bank, like a 4 out of 10. It's kind of where, like, 4 to 6 out of 10 is where I've been landing with, like, every
Right.
WWE show except for WrestleMania this year.
The biggest thing that came out of Money in the Bank was WWE's decision to bring Ron Killings back.
Yeah.
Like,
And that is a whole... So, I guess we can get into that. For one, we just have to make it clear, not a work.
no.
They legitimately were going to, they legitimately were going to let his contract expire,
Right.
according to R-Truth, according to R-Truth's son. But because Triple H in the press conference made some, fucking carny remark about
it's all part of the show.
all part of the show, people were starting to think, oh, this is, they were never going to really fire him. No, they were.
Yeah.
And do you know how we know they were too? Because he's Ron Killings now.
Right.
Because he came to the table with the power. Because the fans, hashtag we want truth. And so he said, okay, well, here's what I'm going to need. So he's going to be Ron Killings now because he knows his time in WWE is not long. He knows he doesn't have much left in WWE. So when he leaves and he can't be R-Truth anymore, he wants to have the Ron Killings name be something that was on TV.
Right.
So he really is thinking about the business side of that.
Now, here's the big question. Does Ron Killings win a world championship before he's done?
In WWE... Well, to be clear, he is a former 2-time world champion. He won the NWA title twice when it was TNA's top title.
Yeah, it was the first black NWA champion.
Yeah, crazy. That was like 2004.
Right.
NWA world title had been around for a long time by then. like 60 years. And,
Yeah.
and so I don't know if he does. But also, I never would have thought Jey Uso was going to win the world title. You know what I mean? Like,
if he
at
does,
the same
that's
time,
the one he's going to win. I don't think he'll get the undisputed.
Yeah.
But I think they might give him a one world title run.
Yeah. I don't know.
Think about everything he's done for the business. This is really his last go at it, his last run. Like, he deserves something big.
And
because,
to be clear, he didn't say this would be his last run in wrestling. He just knows his time in WWE's done.
Right.
So he could go off and, return to TNA or go to AEW or find these other opportunities somewhere else and continue to wrestle after this. But, yeah.
I think he's going to be like an Undertaker. Someone who retires but always comes back for appearances, and he's just always a WWE guy.
Could be. Yeah. So, yeah, I just we had to make it clear that's not a work. I do think this is going to be very interesting wherever this goes. He cut off his braids on Raw, like really trying to
get
establish
into it.
This is different. Like, this is not. He even said, like, R-Truth was all jokes. R-Truth was the funny guy. No, this is Ron Killings now. And then he gave his, because that's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yep.
Catchphrase. And so, yeah, we'll see where that goes. I'm very excited. We can just transition this right into, or what do you think out of 10 for Money in the Bank as a whole show?
As a show, 4.
Okay.
But truth, that the Ron Killings moment, that on its own deserves at least a 6.
Yeah, that was the shock of that, I think, was big because, like I said, we all knew, like, for real.
And he did really good trying to cover up all his skin so they wouldn't see, like, who he was.
Yep. So on to Monday Night Raw last night in Phoenix, Arizona. Started off with John Cena on Raw in some purple and orange Phoenix Suns inspired retirement gear. I want a Cena retirement shirt so bad, but I don't want to buy one with that stupid fucking door on the back. It looks so dumb on every single time I see one of those shirts.
They all have them on them.
And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I see the back, and I'm like, fuck the door still. I hate this thing.
I would have liked to gotten a different colored one. I got the red one when I was there, but that's the only color they offered. Like, I like that blue one.
Yeah, there's been a great blue one. There's been a lot of great ones based on, like, the sports teams of cities he goes to, which is fun. So Cena does his whole bit about, counting down his appearances and saying, we're halfway through the retirement tour, like, and then kind of still his same basic shtick, and then Cult of Personality hits, and it's CM Punk, and he comes out and says, it gives an incredible promo.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I texted Shane when I was watching this last night, and I was like, I have been hating this Cena retirement tour, but then CM Punk got in the ring with him, and he grabbed a microphone, and he pulled me all the way back in. And I'm just, like, so much more interested in this than even I was the Cody thing. Like, this is what the retirement tour should have been. It should just been him going from, like, in my perfect world, it would have been him hitting all of the old feuds for the last time. Right. And giving us a few new fun matches, like, for instance, a Gable, maybe a Carmelo Hayes, a Penta. Something,
I'd love to see Penta and Cena go at it.
Stuff like that. But it's been just kind of this dumb heel turn storyline that's like 5 years too late, and
that's probably why I like it, because I was always a heel guy. I think this is the best heel turn since Hogan, and.
Like, that singular moment it was. Like that, like...
Guys like Cody Rhodes, I respect him very much, but his character, I just hate how over, like, saturated he got. Mm-hmm. And then for John Cena to just kick him in the balls, that made such a great heel turn.
Yeah, the actual turn was the best since Hogan. The heel run hasn't been good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it got off to, like, a 100% start and then just kept dropping.
Right. I think it started dropping after his match with Orton.
Yeah, for me, that whole Cody build I didn't like. Part of that is because The Rock just wasn't mentioned, didn't show up, didn't fulfill his part of the storyline.
He shouldn't even have been there at all. They could have done the heel turn exactly the same way without The Rock in the ring.
But The Rock had to be there for his fucking ego boost.
Mm-hmm. Holding his fake belt.
So holding his fake title. And so, like, the inciting incident of the story, the thing that kicks off the story, doesn't have any kind of tie to the rest of the journey.
No.
No. It was booked, it was booked like a Simpsons episode. Where, like, whatever's happening in the first 5 minutes, you always know it's going to turn in some weird way, and then that's going to be really what the episode's about.
Yeah, I just pictured Bart looking up like, hey, that's Travis Scott.
Yeah. So, like, that's what it was for me. It just kind of just had nothing to do with what started it, and that doesn't work for me. So Punk said, I have enough respect for you to let you pick the day I take that title off of you. And Cena, this has been the best heel move of his whole run. Better than kicking Cody in the balls, better than all that. Telling Punk, if you want to wrestle me, you will do it in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
because famously CM Punk has boycotted the Saudi Arabia shows. I think the quote he once said to The Miz was, "Go suck a blood money covered dick."
Oh, man.
That's what he once said in a viral tweet to The Miz, at The Miz. This was before he even went back to AEW. This was in like 2019 or something.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, Cena himself chose not to wrestle at the first few Saudi shows when they started doing that. At some point they, backed a dump truck full of cash to his Hollywood mansion, and he just was like, fine, I'll go to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But they definitely both had their moral problems with it. A lot of people pointing out Punk's hypocrisy with all that being so, but also we've kind of had to accept that that's kind of what, even as Punk fans, we kind of have to accept he is flawed. He is kind of a hypocrite. There, of course, was the promo where he told MJF, fine, go to the WWE,
Right.
go main event night 4 of the buy one, get one extravaganza, and then who was main eventing WrestleMania this year? CM Punk.
Right.
And if CM Punk held these, really held his beliefs and his moral issues so strongly, he would have never gone back to WWE.
Right.
He just kind of realized that's probably the last place. This is the last time in WWE right now is the last time he will be able to wrestle on a major scale.
Yep.
If he didn't go back to WWE, he burned his bridge with AEW, which kind of by proxy burns any bridge with New Japan.
Right.
So you're down to kind of that second tier of wrestling companies. He could have gone to TNA. Apparently they did talk to him a little bit, and he was very respectful and heard them out before going back to WWE. He could have done a smaller Japanese indie run, or like a smaller Japanese company. He could have gone to Mexico, any number of things. But he knew if he wanted to be at the scale that he had been at for so many years,
Right.
he had to go back to WWE. So I'm just, moral issues. I hate the Saudi thing too. I really only watch the Saudi shows, and honestly, I really only watch as much WWE as I do because we do this podcast.
Right.
If I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't watch Raw every week, or I at least wouldn't watch all of Raw every week.
Yeah.
I would just watch kind of what interested me.
Exactly.
But we'll see. What did you think of the whole promo and now setting up Cena Punk for Night of Champions?
I think that's going to be an awesome match.
Mm-hmm.
Cena and Punk have always delivered, and it's a perfect role reversal because last time it was CM Punk wanting to take the title and go home, and he did, and now it's complete opposite.
Yeah, he even pointed that out in his promo. He was like, hey, this is kind of different, Now it's you that's going against the system and going against the machine that made you who you are. But don't get me wrong, I'm not defending TKO. I'm defending all these people.
Right.
And then he called back in his feud with John Cena, which just from a week-to-week promo level is one of the greatest feuds of all time.
Mm-hmm.
From both sides. They both were. I watched that build to Money in the Bank, and it's incredible every week on Raw. That's just whatever they do is great. Back in 2011, and in one of those promos, he famously says to John Cena, a man from Boston, you're the
Right.
New York Yankees. And then in one of his matches with Cena, he wears pinstripe Yankees kind of based gear against Cena to kind of rub that in onto him,
Right.
And then this week on Raw, he says, if you're more Boston Red Sox than you are New York Yankee, you'll wrestle me right now tonight.
Right.
Of course, Cena puts it off for Night of Champions.
Yeah.
The heel move.
I wasn't expecting him to
you never
actually
get
wrestle.
the match that night.
Never.
Right? The heel always says, no, you guys are going to have to pay for it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, the incredible opening to Raw, and then they went right into Chad Gable versus AJ Styles, which was great. Just a great match.
It really was.
What'd you think of Gable and AJ?
That was just a classic match.
Mm-hmm.
AJ definitely should have went over in that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Roxanne, as we mentioned earlier, moves on in the Queen of the Ring tournament. She beat Liv Morgan, Kairi Sane, and somebody else. I'm completely blanking on who the fourth person in that match was. It was Roxanne, Liv, Kyrie. Wasn't Stephanie. It wasn't.
Oh,
Who
wow.
the fuck was in that match? Let me see if I can find it. Obviously, they did not put in a very memorable performance.
No.
Whoever it was.
No.
We're completely forgetting who the fourth person was. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, this went too far. Let's see. That's the Nikki Bella stuff. I got the Raw results pulled up here. Oh, Rhea Ripley was in the match.
Wow.
I forgot.
That was
Rhea.
Rhea Ripley.
Because she wasn't the focus of the match whatsoever.
Not at all.
It was all about Liv and Roxanne.
Yeah, and they worked really good together.
They did. And then, of course, at the end, Kyrie hits the elbow on Liv, and Roxanne, to quote-unquote save Liv Morgan,
Right.
breaks up the pin by just perfectly transitioning it into another pin, which looked incredible.
Yeah.
And then wins, and now she's moving on to the semis. So we'll see who she's going to face. It'll be somebody from SmackDown. Moving on. So, right winner?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right winner, incredible finish for me. And then we got a Becky Lynch promo, interrupted by Lyra Valkyria, of course. And then Bayley is back.
Right.
Beats down Becky Lynch, bringing back that old horsewoman feud.
Yep.
What do you think of this? Bayley and Becky. I'm guessing that'll be the SummerSlam match.
I think the SummerSlam is going to be Bayley, Becky, and Valkyria.
Oh, triple threat?
Triple threat for the Intercontinental title.
I could see that, too. Yeah, I really like that. Again, we're ramping up this story.
Right.
So now they just need to deliver next time we see it on pay-per-view.
Exactly.
Then also Bayley versus Becky one-on-one could be a Evolution 2 match.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I guess that will be before SummerSlam. So it could be
right.
the one-on-one at Evolution and then the triple threat at SummerSlam. Would make a lot of sense. And then we kind of talked about Ron Killing's first promo already, so we'll skip past that. On to Sami Zayn. Moves on in the King of the Ring tournament. He, let's see who. I want to make sure I remember everybody in this match, too. Okay, he beat Anu Pinta, Dominic Mysterio, and Braun Breaker.
Yep.
Which is a fun lineup there.
Almost a WrestleMania rematch.
Yeah, pretty close.
Wrong winner, though.
Wrong winner. You don't think Sammy should have moved on?
I think Dominic should have won.
See, I could have agreed with you, but then what happened in the main event happened. And the closer we are to a Sammy Gunther rematch at any point in time, the more interesting it is. You know what I mean? So the fact that, Gunther wins later in the night now, I saw, because my immediate thought was, after Gunther won, I was like, oh, wait, Sammy won his King of the Ring match.
Right.
Sammy could be King of the Ring. He's the right caliber wrestler to be on that list of winners with guys like Bret Hart and Harley Race and Macho Man and Edge. And,
right.
All Sheamus, all these great guys who have won the King of the Ring. And then he faces Gunther at SummerSlam. It's a big rematch. Maybe even somebody on Twitter I saw predicted that Sammy wins, Seth cashes in on Sammy.
That
immediately, kind of playing back the Daniel Bryan story from 12 years ago.
Right.
Which would then build to, hopefully in this version, Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble and faces Seth at Mania next year, which would be just a great build.
Right.
I would be all in for that. What'd you think of Sam? I guess you kind of already said you thought Dominic should have won.
Dominic should have won.
Really?
It was a great match.
The four guys in that match, you couldn't have gone wrong.
No,
anyway.
Absolutely.
Whoever won, I would have been happy with it. Then we got the Nikki Bella return, just to build to Evolution. She had a little segment with Liv Morgan. I felt kind of clunky and kind of...
Every time Nikki Bella comes back, it just feels kind of forced on us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing that no one's asking her to come back.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of for one, she's from the Phoenix area, so that's big, Raw being in Phoenix. And she does have a very big fan base. And a lot of people my age that grew up, we were kids when the Bella Twins were around, are huge Bella Twins fans. I never really was a Bella Twin fan. I was more...
Me either.
As a kid, I was like AJ Lee was my favorite women's wrestler as a kid. Like I was kind of more on that side of it. I remember liking like Kelly too, and Layla and some of them, but I never really loved the Bella Twins.
Right.
Part of the problem is that Nikki is from a different era of women's wrestling completely. I mean, it feels weird, but like in WWE, obviously there was stuff like what we have now was happening other places before.
Right.
But in the WWE terms, like about 2016, there was just this hard shift from what women's wrestling was in WWE to what it is now.
Absolutely.
And because it was such a abrupt change, everybody from before kind of got immediately left behind. There was no real transition period.
Right, because everyone's like, wow, they really didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, and so Nikki is kind of from that, and then also like she hasn't been around, so she was probably just kind of rusty on the mic, you know, like it didn't feel like a great segment, but it felt like it could build to something very fun.
Right.
With her and Liv, I think that could be a fun matchup for Evolution. We'll see what we get, but or even the Bella Twins challenging for the tag team titles would be huge.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even hate them winning the tag team titles just so that they're on that list of people who have won it, and then dropping it to somebody at SummerSlam like a month later. Just,
right.
You know what I mean? Just a little short run, just so that you can say Bella Twins, former tag team champions.
Yep.
Because they didn't get that opportunity when they were around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like before we had the tag team titles, like the only tag team, them and Lay Cool were like the only two women's tag teams in WWE history.
Exactly.
So they should get that opportunity. And then the main event, huge shock to me, just because like this is what I thought should have happened, but
was 99%
of the times what should happen, WWE almost does the opposite of. Like they
right.
just, like, never do what I want them to do. And that's a complaint I've had since I was a kid. I remember like every pay-per-view as a kid, I would have such a great time.
Yeah.
And then the main event, it would just end like completely different from what I wanted, and it would just kind of put a damper on the whole thing.
Right. It was always the bad guy was getting his way.
or just like somebody I didn't like was gonna win. I was just like the amount of pay-per-views where I was having such a great time, and then fucking Jinder Mahal won at the end, and I was just like, oh, this kind of all feels sucks now. You know, kind of ruined the whole night.
Exactly.
But Gunther defeats Jey Uso in a match roughly of the quality of the rest of the matches they've had. Like my one main note on this really is like I would be fine never seeing these two wrestle each other again, because we've seen it like 8 times in the last 6 months. We've seen this one-on-one match so many times now.
Yeah, it needs to be in the past.
Right choice for Gunther to win?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it also
wrong choice for Jey Uso to bring his son.
Yeah.
Like, come watch me lose.
Logically, he should have won because Jay had just he'd been wrestling every week. He'd just wrestled at Money in the Bank in a big match.
Yeah.
Like it made sense. And I also like that it breaks the pattern, because before this, like I think every world title change of the Triple H era, and then a couple going back before Triple H, had happened at WrestleMania or SummerSlam for the men's world titles. At least the women's had been different, but for the men's,
right.
So now it's like, oh, it can happen. Not like this wasn't even like, you know, Payback or Backlash or Survivor Series. Like this happened on Monday Night Raw. This happened on Netflix.
Exactly.
It can happen. We can see world title changes anywhere. It's not just a Mania SummerSlam thing.
It's so rare for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I think this is great. Gunther, 2-time world champion, absolutely deserving, and I'm excited to see where we go with it now.
Oh, yeah.
So, anything else on Raw?
Did you see Jey Uso's post-Raw interview?
I saw that he gave like a little speech thing. I haven't watched it yet because I didn't see anything about it till this morning.
It was basically giving props to Gunther.
Okay.
And then he started acting like Hulk Hogan, telling kids to listen to their parents and eat the right food. I'm like,
Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, don't do drugs.
It came off very autistic.
Don't do steroids or you'll end up in a big trial and it'll be a whole problem.
Yeah, just a bunch of random advice.
Yeah. Don't say the N-word on video, and then
right.
Yeah, so I think that's it from Raw and Money in the Bank. We do have some predictions here For New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion. This is one of their bigger shows of the year. Think kind of Survivor Series level for New Japan, though. So kind of like that, like third or fourth biggest show of the year, depending.
Okay.
I do have Shane's picks. There are 9 matches we're predicting here, so that's your max on confidence points. We're starting with the House of Torture, who are no longer part of Bullet Club. Yujiro Takahashi, Ren Narita, Sonata, and a mystery member. So a new member of House of Torture will be the mystery partner. Versus the Bullet Club War Dogs, which is Chase Owens, Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney, and Taiji Ishimori. I went with House of Torture for 2. Shane went House of Torture for 1. What do you got, Joka?
I'm going to go with House of Torture. What's my maximum?
Max is 9.
I'm going to go 5.
5 on that one? All right. Then we have El Phantasmo and Shota Umino versus TMDK's Ryohei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. I went TMDK for 1. Shane went TMDK for 5.
I'm going to do Zack Sabre Jr. for 3.
Okay, TMDK for 3. Hiroshi Tanahashi continuing his retirement tour, this time against the young gun Yuya Uemura. I went with Tanahashi for 3. Shane went Tanahashi for 9.
I'm going to do Tanahashi for 9.
Tanahashi for 9. Then for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, we have Master Wato and Yo versus the House of Torture's Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
I'm going to go with Yo for 8.
Okay. For 8. For the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles, Callum Newman and Grado Khan representing United Empire versus Tomohiro Ishii and Taichi.
Taichi for 7.
Ishii and Taichi for 7. I went United Empire for 5. Shane went United Empire for 8. Konosuke Takeshita defending his never openweight title against Oleg Boltin. I went Takeshita 9. Shane went Takeshita 7.
I'll go Takeshita 6.
Takeshita 6. All right. Evil versus David Finlay in a dog collar death match.
Ooh. Who are the participants?
Evil and David Finlay, son of Fit Finlay.
David Finlay.
Okay.
I'm going to go with 7.
You already gave 7. You have 4, 2, and 1 left.
I'm going to do a 4 on that.
4 on that one? All right. I went David Finlay for 4. Shane went Finlay for 6. We have Yota Tsuji defending the IWGP Global title, Think Intercontinental title, versus Gabe Kidd. I went with Kidd for 8. Shane went with Kidd for 4. Who are you going with?
Anyone named Yoda, that's getting my vote, too.
All right, Yoda for 2. So you have 1 point left for the main event. We have Haruki Goto defending the IWGP title against Shingo Takagi. I went Goto 7. Shane went Goto 2.
I'm going to go with Jingo for 1.
All right. Shingo for 1. All right, so those are our picks for NJPW Dominion, which is happening this weekend. I believe that's on Friday. So if it's on Friday, so that's late Thursday night, early Friday morning for us here in America, or it's just immediately on demand, so you can watch it whenever on New Japan World. Tape up the light tubes and take the door off its hinges. It's time for Shane's GCW Corner. So Shane is not here, so I will be relaying the GCW Corner thoughts.
All right.
So he said the Tournament of Survival would end up being for the GCW Ultra Violent title, as Tremont puts it up in each match of his. He said we bring out Zandig. Don't know what that means. Murdoch and Mr. Danger met in a House of Horrors match. Light tubes hanging from the ceilings and the ropes. Murdoch gets the win over Mr. Danger, and Mr. Danger's got a long career ahead of him. So, okay, good. Cool for him. Otis, Kogar, Beastman, and Dr. Redacted meet in the multi-man first rounder. Fortunately, Redacted is a first-round exit and a multi-man again, but Beastman taking a bear trap to the head.
Ooh.
That's
a bear trap.
A bear trap, apparently. This is...
that had to not
It's crazier reading this than it is when Shane explains it to me.
Right. Like, that can't be a full bear trap because that would crush your skull.
Yeah.
Like,
it had to be gimmicked.
I mean, even gimmicked, I'm sure it hurt.
Oh,
but
probably quite a bit, yeah. The Bev won his match, I guess. I don't know who the Bev is.
I don't care how gimmicked it is. I'm never saying, you know what? Yes, bear trap me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
oh, my head, even better.
And then Matt Tremont, who's defending the title in this tournament, has a mystery opponent, and it turns out to be recent free agent Shotzi Blackheart. Shows up in the deathmatch tournament. Her first big appearance since being released. She just recently hit the 3 months ended or whatever. And then he said she dives right into a pile of chairs like it was 2017, and it ruled.
And it ruled.
Yep. Let's see. Otis beat John Wayne Murdoch in the semis. Matt Tremont beat the Bev. So Matt Tremont ends up winning the Tournament of Survival for his 10th deathmatch tournament win, tying John Wayne Murdoch's record for the single most wins by a single competitor. And then they had Cage of Survival, where Slade beat Bear Bronson. And Shane said this was one of the best death matches he'd seen in years, and it opened the show, which is crazy. Multiple pools of blood in the match. They are a deep red, is what he wrote. Bear Bronson immediately put himself as someone to watch on the Indies now that he has left AEW. Let's see. Anything else? I'm just going to try to see what else is interesting here. Masha Slamovich beat KJ Orso to retain the JCW title. Atticus Kogar beat Joey Janela in the dog collar match. And then, they crucified Joey Janela. So, shout-outs to the Sandman.
Right.
And then Team GCW beat... let's see. I think they won, didn't they? What does this say? Oh, it went to a no contest. Team GCW versus Team JCW, which is Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Right.
And Shane said that it was a Bloodline Rules match that was better than any kind of Bloodline Rules that WWE has ever ran. And then Miedo Extremo beat Ciclope in a Cage of Survival. He said not as good as last year's, but the best part of the match is that Los Macizos are back. That's the tag team of Ciclope and Erez, who is like a deathmatch luchador. So it's cool. Announcements, as far as we know, the next Jersey Championship Wrestling show will be on June 12th. It'll be free on YouTube. The next GCW shows are in Little Rock and Kansas City. Matt Cardona versus Jimmy Lloyd is set to happen in Kansas City. It's the first time they've wrestled each other since Jimmy turned face on Matt Cardona. Blake Christian versus Miyu Yamashita in Little Rock. Atticus Kogar versus Shotzi Blackheart in Little Rock. Shotzi is not announced for Kansas City. She's announced for shows after, so I think we're assuming she just won't be there. A lot of intergender matches coming up on the GCW cards is what he pointed out, so that'll be fun to see. So that is the GCW corner. On to our favorite things of the week. This, of course, is where I give out the gold, silver, and bronze hot dog. Shane gives out the gold, silver, bronze handshake. Jolka does a 3 count. So Jolka, number 3. What do you got for this week?
Number 3 be the women's ladder match.
Okay. I want to give an honorable mention to the team of Aerostar, Octagon Jr., and Mr. Iguana.
Yeah.
That was a great team up. But my bronze hot dog here is going to be the Punk Cena promo.
Okay.
Shane, his bronze was John Moxley versus Mark Briscoe from Dynamite.
All right.
What's number 2 for you?
Number 2 is the Fatal 4-Way for the King of the Ring.
Which one, the women's or the men's?
The men's.
The men's. Yeah, that was a pretty good match. My number 2 was Mark Briscoe versus John Moxley. That Dynamite match, really had a fun time with that one. Really, one of those that really got me like into it, and I was kind of pissed off when John Moxley kicked out of the J Driller, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like so hyped because Mark Briscoe does this. Do you know what a burning hammer is?
Right.
Okay, so he does this move where he will like wrap your own arm around your throat
Yep.
and give you a burning hammer. It's called like the cutting edge driver or something like that. But he's only done it like 8 times. He tried to do it on Moxley, but Moxley got out of it. But just him trying to do it is one of those things where you're like, oh shit. Like whenever Owens goes for the package pile driver, or Samoa Joe goes for the muscle buster, stuff like that. When it's like, oh, he's bringing this move out. Oh shit, this is real.
Nice.
So that I was really excited for that match. Shane Silver was that Slade versus Bear Bronson death match that he talked about, or that I talked about for him. What was number 1 for you?
Ron Killing's coming back.
Ron Killing's return. That was close. That probably was like my 5th thing behind the things I have here. Mine and Shane's both was Gable versus Vikingo from Worlds Collide.
Nice.
Just a great match. They did post WWE's YouTube channel. They separated it out just that match, so it's easy to find. You just go find that match on the YouTube channel.
That's how little we all thought of Jey Uso's world title reign. It didn't even make our top 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so lightning round. We don't know like any of the matches we're going to get on WWE TV, so I'll just talk quickly about how excited I am for the upcoming matches on because of the hockey playoffs. Again, this week will be the second week where AEW has to do Dynamite and Collision back-to-back as a 4-hour block. From the people who watch it live, pretty mixed reviews. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people did like it. This obviously isn't going to be the permanent way they do this. It just happened to be because of, hockey that they have to.
At least they're not canceling it.
Yeah.
They used to cancel Monday Night Raw for dog shows.
Yeah.
Like, it was a dog show that would come up a couple times a year, and then you go to turn it into Raw, and then there's these poodles.
Yep. So Summer Blockbuster is what they're calling this one. This doesn't really matter to me because my usual schedule, I don't get to Dynamite during the week, so I just watch Dynamite and Collision back-to-back on the weekends usually.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I watch it on Max, and I can skip the commercials and stuff, so it's not actually 4 hours for me. It's more like 3, you know.
Okay.
Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus TJ. Ty returned to save Anna Jay. Like a 6 for me. Doesn't move me quite a bit. I really love Anna Jay. I've been impressed with Megan Bayne, but this matchup, not special. Toni Storm versus Julia Hart, non-title match. I am really excited for that. I like both of them a lot. Julia Hart, a great young prospect. So I think she's like 22. Like she's very good for her age. I'm gonna go like an 8 on that one. Tekla versus Queen Aminata. We didn't really see a lot of what Tekla has to offer last week. I'm hoping we see a little bit of a longer match here with Queen Aminata. But I'll go like a 5. It's just interesting because of how new Tekla is. She just joined AEW. She'd been wrestling in Japan. She's from Europe, but she had been wrestling in Japan and then now in AEW. Anthony Bowens versus Kyle Fletcher. Very interesting to me. I'll probably give that like an 8.5 out of 10. I like both those guys quite a bit, and I think they'll put on a fun match. Jet Ball, the team of Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, they're teaming with Commander versus Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, and MJF. Interested to see where this goes storyline-wise. Probably like a 7 overall. And then far and away, my 10 of the week, the rematch from last year, from about a year ago exactly, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. That's going to be incredible. I am so pumped for that. And then match recommendation of the week. We saw them in the ring together again this week, so I'm going to throw it back. John Cena, CM Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. Widely considered one of the best matches of all time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just a banger of a match.
Absolutely, and a great story at the same time.
Yep. And, of course, just the memorable image of CM Punk, like, blowing the kiss to Cena and McMahon as he's, like, going into the crowd.
Right, like, there goes your title.
There goes your title, yep. Classic reviews, if you want to listen to more of us. We just put out WCW Festival de Lucha. It was a review. We reviewed it by watching a version that had been put on YouTube by just some guy. But then earlier this week, before we put this episode out, WWE Vault put out an official version of it.
Oh, really?
So you can find the full show on the WWE Vault channel, and then you can come back over to our channel and watch our review of it. I think we had a pretty fun time. Mixed reviews from us. And then coming out later this week, It'll be releasing on Friday the 13th. We are going Judgment Day 2005, which we picked because it's Cena's retirement year. It's
Right.
Friday the 13th, and he loses gallons of blood in
Right.
that match. That match with JBL is insanely bloody. So you can check that out. Coming up next week, we're gonna be going over a 35 under 35 for pro wrestling right now that we're all voting on. So we'll have that list to talk about, plus Dominion. We got Night of Champions on the way. So just remember to enjoy wrestling.